And Uncle went out, and he had to do the presents for everybody. And what he did was he bought me, I don't know if it was a pound or not, but it seemed huge, a box of chocolates. And they weren't wrapped. They were put outside my door, my bedroom door. And I don't know what anybody else got, but that's what I got. And I thought that was pretty nice.
Sure.
And my dad gave me some writing paper. Poor guy, he didn't have a job ever, hardly. He didn't. After the war, he didn't do much.
He just played in the bands, though.
Yeah. Then finally, he got a job with this band, Earl Hill and his Capitolians, the Capitol Theater. Well, it was a good band.
It was it was regular work, huh?
Yeah, and he used to do very well.
Was that when you were older?
Yes, I was ready to go into training.
That's not when you and Freda used to go out and dance.
Oh, that was before I went in training. He'd take us with him. We had a good time, and everybody behaved well to us because my father was in the orchestra. They had floor walkers in those days, and he used to walk up and down and see that everybody danced the way they should.
Well, what kind of a place was it? A dance?
Like the Army and Navy club had a hall,
and they would have dances there regularly.
Yeah.
Like every Saturday night or something? Or,
yeah,
I mean, that
like
regularly?
that.
And you and Freda would go out there and...
We'd always dance the first dance together because we thought we were pretty good. We didn't want to get an eye on other people, so if they asked us to dance, we'd know if they were any good.
Oh, you are a good dancer, though.
I was, but I'm not anymore.
And you don't dance. You haven't danced in a while. I bet you still could dance.
No. I don't keep time. I don't follow the way I should.
I've never been able to.
Oh, I did. I could dance.
Okay, so you finished high school?
Oh, yes.
What was your graduation like?
Now, wait a minute. I didn't. I don't know why or what. We were supposed to make a dress. That was part of our project, our home economics project. And I never had the money to finish. We didn't have much money.
This is you living with your dad?
Yeah. In one of Grandpa's houses. And I can remember it was a navy blue material I got, and it buttoned down the side, and I think it had scallops someplace. But anyway, I didn't have much money, and I quit school. And I went and applied to get in training. My mother had a cousin.
Were you disappointed, or did you not care?
About not having the money? Well, I was very...
I mean, about graduation.
No, that didn't mean anything to me. I didn't finish the 11th grade. I only finished the 10th. I had what they would call a second-class teacher's certificate. I could go to normal school and teach out in the country schools. But I wouldn't have had a proper teacher's certificate to teach in the city schools. But I didn't think much of that. I was only 17. I
didn't want to teach.
No. But
well, I don't understand about the dress. What?
We didn't. For some reason, I didn't have the money.
Okay, so you didn't finish your dress, and is that why you
I quit school. No, I don't know any more than that. I had a...
Oh, and the dress was a project that you had to complete.
It was a home ec thing. We had to have... We made a corset cover, a Gertrude, that's a slip, all in one.
What's a corset cover?
Well, the women, I never wore it. It was a cotton thing, and it cinched in around the waist, and there's what they called a peplum here. And down the front.
Yeah.
And it was all done by hand. And I think it was all French seamed.
Yeah, because it was lingerie. It would be French seamed.
That I had to make, and I had to make a Gertrude.
A Gertrude
That's
is
a
a
slip.
That's a funny name, isn't it?
That's what they called it. I don't know whatever happened to the navy blue material. It was wool, or supposed to be wool.
Uh-huh.
It would never wash. I'll tell you that. You say, how often did they wash my clothes at the convent?
Well, did they wash wool?
No.
What did they do? Did they have dry cleaning?
No. I
What
don't
did
know what
did
they
they ever clean it?
I
They
don't
must-
think so. I don't know
Huh.
what they did. I guess I wasn't a very tidy person. I didn't know about that.
Well, it wasn't your business, probably. You know, why you weren't old enough to pay that much attention. Who cares? Okay, so you quit when you were when you
Finished the 10th
finished the
grade.
10th grade.
Finished the 10th grade. I might have gone a little bit into the 11th, but I never finished.
Okay. And then you applied to nursing school.
Well, it was my mother's cousin, Ellen Montgomery,
Uh-huh.
had graduated from there in 1905.
Uh-huh.
And she was one of the first ones from the school, from the nursing school. So she took me down and got me in. I guess she felt sorry for me, it was a good thing she did. It was
Yeah.
wonderful.
Okay.
Gave me something to.
Yeah. Okay, so and you went through 2 or 3 years?
3.
3 years. And that was year-round? Did you get vacations?
Yeah, we got 1 or 2 weeks each year.
Uh-huh. And you lived there?
Yeah, in the nurse's home
Do you remember the hours you worked?
from 7 to 7.
And then did you take classes?
Yeah, 2 hours class during the day.
2 hours of class time and 12
Uh-huh.
hours of work?
No. It came in that we worked from 7 to 7, and
and
sometimes in the afternoon we'd have classes. Not every day. They worked us hard.
And you did everything?
Yeah.
You cleaned the floors?
We swept. We didn't scrub, but we swept the floors and dusted.
Mm-hmm.
Bathed the patients. They never bathed themselves. We had to bathe them.
And feed
Except the
them?
men. You weren't allowed to know that a man had sex organs. We just didn't know.
That was a blank, huh?
That was
well,
a
who
blank.
bathed them?
We had an orderly that did that part of them.
You mean you bathed around?
Around to here, to here. We left the middle.
Isn't that funny? Did you ever peek?
You know,
Oh, someone was
we had a
sleeping.
guy in a private room,
Uh-huh.
or a 2-bed room, and we couldn't close the door when we fixed them, give them their morning care and everything. You couldn't close the door. Now, I don't know what they thought we'd do with some of those guys, but that was it. Nuns didn't trust anybody.
And the nursing at that time, did you have shots, injections?
After I finished my diphtheria training, I got diphtheria shots. Instead of
Are
having
you kidding?
I'm not
You
kidding.
mean your vaccination?
No, not smallpox. I said diphtheria.
Oh, that's a shot, yeah.
Yeah.
But that's an inoculation.
Yeah. I got that after
After?
instead of before.
Why?
And the same with scarlet fever. It was just poorly organized.
That's awful.
You'd think that the whole class could have had their shots.
Yeah. I mean, because you could have
I could
You
have
could
got
have
it.
contracted
Sure.
it and then given it to other people too.
Sure.
Oh, that is.
They had a separate hospital on the grounds, just over to one side. There was St. Rock's Hospital. That was
So
for
wonder,
the
no,
contagious.
did any of the nurses ever catch it?
That one girl died of a type of meningitis she got. And let's see.
In training?
Uh-huh.
Or, I mean,
training.
because of, from a patient?
Well, I don't know how she got it.
But
Most of those things, you get it by taking care of the patients and touching things that go in your nose or throat, mouth, without washing your hands.
yeah, and you could like rub your eye too and
Uh-huh.
get it.
Well, not I
Or-
don't. It's your nose and mouth usually. That's the way they contract. Measles, same way.
Okay, so they did have some like you said they didn't have penicillin then. They just had
no.
sulfa drugs.
Didn't have salt.
Oh, you didn't have sulfa either?
When they got pneumonia, you took care of them for 7 days, and they had a crisis, usually, and they either got better or died.
It's like a trial by fire, huh?
They hadn't anything to work with. They got that during the Second World War. During the First World War, they found about what we called it was Dakin's solution. It was a stuff that smelt like Clorox, and it was for infection from wounds. They got that in the First World War. The men would get infection in the wounds. Well, then they would put holes and tubes in, and you'd irrigate them with this Dakin's solution, and it would clear them up. Well, that's what the First World War they discovered. And then the Second World War, I think, was penicillin.
Daddy talks about leeches.
Oh, yeah.
Did
He
you-
worked in a drugstore.
Yeah.
I never saw leeches.
You didn't use them in the
No.
hospital.
But we did make mustard plasters and put it on their chest for pneumonia. And garlic. A
Garlic?
ointment. Oh, it's terrible.
Well, I thought that was a joke.
No. They had one doctor that used to prescribe garlic ointment.
Well, who mixed it up? Did you have to
Came-
cut your
No.
garlic?
No, it came in a jar like cold cream.
Yeah.
Isn't that all?
Yeah. Okay, now how did you meet Daddy? That was during training.
Just before I went in training.
Oh, before you went in?
Not long, but just before, yeah. I was going to the beach on a train that used to go down. Took an hour to go down to the beach, an hour to come back.
The beach, what's the beach?
Lake Winnipeg.
Lake Winnipeg?
Yeah, used to go. That was the
What
thing
was
to
at the
do.
beach? What was there?
A great big dance. You paid 60 or 75 cents for a ticket.
The
There and
train
back,
ride?
and that allowed you to go into the dance hall on the. No, I think they had to pay for the roller coaster. I don't know.
So there was like an amusement park there?
Oh, it was a big place. But I was going with this fella, and for some reason he got to the train late and didn't have enough money. So he went through the train, walking through the train to see anybody he knew. So Eddie was on the train he had a girlfriend, what was her name, Mildred something or other, that lived across the street from him. He was taking her coat down to her, and they borrowed the money from him, and that's how I met him.
Now, were you with Dinty Moore?
Dinty was, Dinty was, there was Bud Farrell was in our class. She was one of my classmates, and Dinty was her boyfriend.
Okay.
And we used to make a foursome.
What was the name of the guy you were with? Do you remember?
When I went
With Daddy. Yeah. When you
I
first
met
met
him? Harold. Eddie worked in the grain exchange with his brother. What in the heck was it?
It's not that important.
It didn't come to me. But he had been in jail. I didn't know. But he had been in jail for something with some aluminum pots and pans he was selling, probably door to door or something. I don't know what he did. But he got into trouble, and his name was Harold.
You weren't that old. 10th
I was
grade.
18 when I went in training.
Oh, okay. So you're 21 when you got out, and when you met Elsie there?
Elsie,
who
yeah,
were your
she-
best friends in training?
In training,
Uh-huh. Must have been
Is-
Elsie.
Bud Farrell was
Uh-huh.
Denny Moore's, and Ruby McKay. Oh, you're a class and you're all together. You didn't really have special friends. You just everybody was together.
Under the old Austro-Hungarian Empire,
Yeah.
my dad and another man were selected to get some plans for
Your grandpa.
yeah
Yeah.
by Francis Joseph, who was emperor of Austria-Hungary then, and they were promised a baronetcy if they should succeed.
They wanted to get some plans
Some plans
for.
from Russia.
Okay, so they
They went into through Poland and into Russia, and they got caught up. The Cossacks, Russian Cossacks, caught up with them, and they took to their horses. Of course, that's all they had at that time was horses. They took to their horses and made for a lake. It was I don't know what part of the year it was. Anyway, the lake was frozen over with ice, of course, and the ice started to break, so they went back to shore, and the Cossacks caught up with them. And then beforehand, they made up that if they were caught, they were both going to say that they're after tobacco.
Mhm.
Apparently, the Russian tobacco was supposed to be superior at that time. So the Cossacks asked them what they were there for, and they said after tobacco. So at any rate, to make a long story short, they took them off to jail, and one of the things that my granddad told me, they built a fire after that to question him at length beside this lake, and the Russians told him to put the fire, start a fire rather. And I remember those two things, start a fire, in Russian was gasi, and put it out was negasi. Those two words I remember because they're passed down to me, Anyway, they took them off to jail, and they stuck to their guns, and they stayed in jail. So they gave them a year in jail, both of them, and as Mama said, my grandmother used to come visit in jail, which was a long ways.
Where was she?
In Bohemia, Czechoslovakia.
Okay.
So she had to go through Poland, and because
He was in Russia in jail or in Poland?
Yeah, no,
In Russia.
yeah, and
Do you know where, by any chance?
when?
Where?
No, I don't know. I have no idea.
And when was this? About?
I don't know, late 1800s, somewhere along there.
Okay, well, Grandpa would, it must have been like in the 1880s?
Oh no, because they were here in the 1880s. They'd already arrived in Halifax. They came on an Italian freighter that was hauling the walnuts.
Okay, we're getting ahead of ourselves then. Then it's probably the 1870s or the 1860s?
Probably late 1870s.
It was before his grandparents were married.
Yeah. Yeah.
I thought they were married. You said your grandma used to come visit him in jail?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, but
They
the-
weren't married?
They weren't married then.
Ah, okay.
At any rate, I'm getting ahead of myself.
Okay, so she used to come visit him in jail.
Yeah.
How long was he in jail? You
1
want
year.
to sit down here?
1
Be
year.
more comfortable.
I'll move this one over. They stayed in jail a year, and then I don't know whether why they decided to after they were married, why they decided to leave for Canada.
I know.
It was either political or the fact that they didn't want their family in the service of Austro-Hungarian army. Anyway,
Did you say all the boys at that time? All the boys had to go in the army.
yeah, compulsory conscription. So I suppose, I don't recall exactly, but I suppose they were married. Must have been in the 1860s because by that time they had well, 6 or 7 children.
I didn't know they had that many.
Yeah, there was Aunt Mary, Aunt Tilly, and my father John, my second father Joseph, my uncle Frank, and one other. There must have been 6 children.
Huh.
Anyway, they came over here with, like I said, on this boat, and
How did they get from Czechoslovakia to, like, where did they leave on the boat? Were there trains then?
no, I guess my grandfather must have had a little money because they I don't know what the circumstances were. At any rate, he brought 6 of them over. See?
And do you know where they left from? You said it was an Italian boat,
Yeah.
but they didn't go to Italy, did they?
I don't know.
Czechoslovakia is down near Italy,
Is it?
near the north part of Italy,
Okay, so
and
they
to
could
the
have.
east of it.
Okay.
At any rate,
On a boat that was carrying walnuts?
walnuts, yeah. And it landed in Halifax, Nova Scotia.
Uh-huh.
And then previous to that, my mother, no, somebody, they had connections, relatives in Canada.
Uh-huh.
And
Your mom or your dad?
I guess my dad. My dad, yeah. That's the uncle.
I mean, your
grandfather.
Your grandfather. Yeah.
That's the uncle that Pat spoke about. You know, that both my dad and Uncle Frank were over 80. They went to see their uncle who was, I don't know how old, but they have a history of longevity.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, after that, my grandfather took out the homestead, as I told you, for $5. They got 160 acres.
Now, is that a section?
No,
Quarter.
That's a
four
quarter?
sections. I think he got 2 quarter sections. In other words, 320 acres of swampland and brush.
Uh-huh.
Wasn't
In Manitoba?
Yeah, it wasn't suitable for man or beast. And he had the 3 boys that would help him. So
Uh-huh.
they built a log cabin. The fact of the matter is, I think one of my cousins has still got a picture of the first log cabin that they built.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, and I told you the story about the Indians coming by and going into the granary and picking out different tools.
Yeah, you used to swap, didn't you?
And
I didn't know it was tools.
an axe or whatever they wanted.
Uh-huh.
I don't know why, but she'd give them a dozen loaves of bread, which she had to bake herself, of course, that time.
Your grandma, this
Yeah.
would give the Indians a dozen loaves of bread?
And they'd dump a deer.
Oh, a dozen loaves of bread and whatever tool they wanted?
No, the tools they put back.
They just used them?
Yeah.
Oh.
But you know, there wasn't any word spoken because nobody could tell it to each other. It was just an exchange. And then when my father was, another incident when my father was in the creek with a buggy, and he figured, I know it was a creek or a river, he figured the Indians going scouting there on the other side of the creek. So they started to laugh at him like crazy, and after a while when they got through laughing, why they came over and pulled him out of the creek and told him to go on his way. Or at least it motioned him. So anyway, that was one of the incidents. And I don't know what else.
Okay, there was, you know, you talked about your father and then your second father, but you've never said anything about your aunts. Did they live as long as?
Did they what?
Did
My aunts?
yeah? Did you know them?
Oh yeah. They all lived in Winnipeg after settling down. The fact of the matter is, one of the boys lives in Phoenix, a cousin, and what was it that
He wanted to know who operated on my eyes.
Yeah.
And he wanted to come here and have him.
He's got eye trouble too. Anyway, you mean how many cousins did I have?
Oh wait, do you know?
Yeah, probably about 15 or 20, maybe more than that.
What? Okay, your father had two brothers.
My father had
3.
Uncle Frank, and 3 boys. Yeah, 2 brothers. And they had 3 or 4 sisters, and I don't remember them all.
Tell me about what your grandpa wrestling bears.
Oh, they used to at fairs. In fact, something they put on a show, you know, and he'd take on a bear.
They'd offer money or something for somebody to wrestle.
You know, he'd get money for it. Yeah, and like I said, he must have had an awful lot of money because he had 2 brothers. My grandfather had 2 brothers that came down here from Czechoslovakia after my dad was settled, after my family was settled here. And 2 brothers of the uncle, you know, the uncle that I spoke of before, that was the oldest one.
Frank. Frank?
No.
Okay, I'm mixed up. Now, is this your grandfather's brother?
Yeah.
Or
my grandfather's brother, that's right.
okay, and he came to Canada
Before that.
before, and he was the relative that you said that lived here.
Yeah.
Before, okay, or lived in Canada.
Yeah. Anyway, there were 2 of them that 2 brothers came over to Canada. As I remember, they were so well dressed and impeccably dressed and groomed like crazy. Anyway, they looked around for a couple of weeks, and they said, "You can have your Canada. We're going back."
They went back to Czechoslovakia?
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah. And what else can I tell you?
Okay, well, he wrestled bears at the...
At fairs, yeah.
At fairs?
Yeah.
This was in Europe.
Yeah.
Oh, in Europe? I thought this was in Canada.
No. In Europe.
Oh.
He was...
Well, he was a very young man then.
Yeah.
Was he big?
No, I'd say 5'10", about Mike's stature.
Huh.
Maybe a little taller. But he must have been well heeled because they made him a reeve of the municipality in which they lived.
What does that mean?
That means, I don't know.
A municipality is like a county.
Yeah, but what's a reeve?
Reeve.
He's the head of it.
Oh.
My grandfather was reeve out in St. Eustache.
Okay, so he'd be like a mayor or...
Well, no, it isn't a mayor, really.
Well, I mean,
Yeah,
is it
he was
political or is he
Yeah,
like
it's
a
a
sheriff?
political. No, political, not a sheriff.
So anyway, he'd have to have quite a lot of money in order to bring in a family like that.
Yeah.
And 6 or 7 of them. Anyway, from then on, they started in a place called Whitemouth. That's just out of Winnipeg. Started their farming enterprise. And
Did you ever visit the farm?
Did I? Yeah.
What do you remember from it?
Oh, not too much. I remember taking an axe out of the woodshed and trying to split wood, and I split my ankle. I've got a scar to this day.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Didn't you? Who was it that had a mouse run up his leg and hit it with an axe? Didn't you tell me? Was it your father or your grandfather?
No, I don't remember that.
I thought that was.
No, that must have been another story.
But what I would like to know is how your mother and father met.
Yeah.
My mother and father?
Yeah.
Oh. They met here in Winnipeg.
How?
In Winnipeg. I don't really know.
Didn't your mother used to talk about your father?
Oh yeah.
And well, didn't she ever say anything about?
I don't really know. I know the incident. They were very much in love, and the incident about taking my father's remains in St. Mary's Cemetery and putting it into the family plot. And my mother was still in love with him. I guess I must have been about 4 years old because it made an impression on me. They opened up the coffin and she wanted to see him.
Oh.
Yeah.
And he'd been dead at least 4 years.
Yeah. And his hair fell back off his skull.
Do you remember
And
that?
she just cried her full eyes out.
That's a terrible thing
Yeah.
to let a
You
child.
saw it?
Yeah. That was something that I don't forget.
Well, sure you wouldn't forget.
Yeah. Oh,
Now, she wasn't married to,
my second father.
Yeah.
No, yeah, she was married to him then. It was 4 years after she was married to him.
okay, so, all right, your father, your natural father died when you were 8 or 9 months old, right?
2 weeks old.
2 weeks old?
Uh-huh.
Oh, wow.
Uh,
It was a flu epidemic?
no. Typhoid. There was a typhoid epidemic in Winnipeg, and it took my maternal grandfather and my father. They died. They both died of it, but it was widespread at the time. And I think my father had complications of double pneumonia with typhoid. At that time, they didn't have the antibiotics or anything that you could fight these things with. So that's about.
Okay, so
He
he
played the
died.
violin.
He played the violin?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Wait, was
very,
that
very well.
the...
Yeah.
What did he work for the railroad?
No, my second father. I don't know where my first father were. Well, I don't know. But my second father.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. He
my
worked.
uncle. Yeah. He worked for the railroad since he was 16 years old, and he never changed jobs.
Now, was he older than
No,
your
he
father?
was younger.
Younger? He was younger than your father?
Yeah.
Okay. By much?
No, maybe a year or two.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then how much after your father's death did you marry your mother?
It wasn't too long.
I mean, like within a year?
Oh no, sooner than that, I imagine, because they had to have dispensation from Rome in order to get married. There was those laws, where
Yeah.
you couldn't marry relatives, like things like that. I don't know what the exact circumstances.
But they had to get permission.
Yeah, and so the priest. Oh, another incident. A funny thing I just want to tell you about was I was serving at High Mass at the Holy Ghost Church where we attended. It was a Polish parish because that was the closest Catholic parish to where we lived. Anyway, they're holding this solemn mass,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and all the guys were lined up on one side of the altar, including my cousin Lawrence, who was a dentist. Anyway, while I was transferring the book from one side of the altar to the other, like they used to do in the old, I stepped on the priest's hat.
Hat?
You know the hard, funny hat with the cross on top, beretta or something?
Capuletta, I think.
Oh, well, whatever they
Yeah.
call
Or
it.
maybe a beretta, yeah.
Anyway, the seminarians were all lined up across the side of the altar, and they started to laugh like crazy. And I was blushed, didn't know what the heck to do. Anyway, I went and did my chore. The mass was over, and poor old priest
Put his hat on.
put his hat on, and that thing wouldn't fit. He was going around. I don't know whether he eventually got it on or not.
I remember they used to come on the altar with their hat on.
Yeah. And then they take it and put it on the floor down on one side.
Yeah.
And he stepped up.
Yeah.
But the thing that I thought was so unusual, when his father died, the family told his stepfather that he had to marry,
Not that had to, but was wise to.
and he was going.
Hi.
He was going with a girl then, and he had to leave her.
He didn't have to leave her, Audrey. He wanted. He was. I think he was in love with my mother. Anyway.
Oh,
Oh, she was a very pretty woman. Very pretty, and well, you can tell by the picture. Anyway, that's what happened. And they had to get that dispensation from Rome, and that's about it.
I wonder, why was the body dug up?
To transfer it from one gravesite to
To
another.
another?
Yeah. You see, we have a gravesite in the St. Mary Cemetery where all the relatives are together, and that's what they. I don't know why they decided to
I thought it was something about moving part of the cemetery.
Oh, I don't know. I don't think so.
Whatever. Yeah. What school did you go to?
I went to Holy Ghost school, parochial school, for 2 or 3 years, and then I went to Aberdeen school. It was a public school, and then I went to St. John's High, and then I didn't stay at St. John's High. My mom told me we don't have too much money, and I wanted to go study dentistry, and so I should go to a business college. So I went to a business college, and then I got my job at the Grain Exchange. So what else would
How much? How many years are between you and Frank?
8.
8 years?
No, 8 between Johnny and 5 years.
Okay.
4 years.
And then
4 or 5 years.
Gertie's the youngest.
Yeah.
Sometimes you were in the same school as Uncle Frank and John, weren't you?
Yeah.
What school was that? That couldn't have been that first Catholic school.
No, Johnny, John, I think that Frank went to the Holy Ghost, yeah. But Johnny went to the Immaculate Conception. There was another Catholic parish, but it was too far away. So,
But remember, you used to say that Uncle Frank used to get in fights and make you fight for him? Or
No.
bring you into his fights?
no, he was a fighter. He'd invite me to whenever there's a scrap here take place. Come on, Ed, watch me. Watch me kick the so-and-so out of this guy.
And would you?
Oh yeah, I'd go watch.
And tell her about the time you won all the money and put it up behind in the board in the closet, and your mother had to take it to pay the taxes or pay.
Oh, that wasn't. I won that. I went to the schoolyard with 40 cents, and I came back with $50 shooting craps.
Really?
Yeah, and so
How old were you?
oh, maybe 13, 14.
Uh-huh.
So my mom, I told my mom about it, so she said that they had some taxes come due on the property, or payment, whatever it was, and would I do that for her? Sure. So I gave her the $50.
You were a good boy.
Oh man, that was the best.
What do you remember about the house that you lived in? What was it like?
It was on a 25-foot lot. You know, like in San Francisco.
The skinny?
Double-
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Double.
Now, was this on Pritchard?
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
That's the only one I remember.
Uh-huh.
No, there's one other I faintly remember on Fonseca Street, underneath the Salter Bridge. I just faintly remember that. But Pritchard was where I grew up. And anyway, it had a two bedrooms or three. Oh, 3 bedrooms. 2 upstairs and 1 downstairs for Mom and Dad. And there was a veranda, like the old style southern veranda, right around the whole house.
Uh-huh.
And
This was on the little lot?
yeah,
Uh-huh.
and they had 2 huge lilac bushes right alongside of the veranda, and each year the fragrance was beautiful, and you know, the flowers would come out first, the leaves would come out later. That was a funny thing. And then, my dad used to go to St. Boniface to trade pigeons with the brothers down there.
Trade pigeons?
Yeah.
Why would you trade pigeons?
Well,
He kept pigeons as a hobby.
Uh-huh.
yeah. And homers, I guess they were. Anyway, he'd go to St. Boniface, which was where Mama trained in the hospital, and the brothers would trade with him. I don't know what the object was.
What did they do with them? You know, you see that in movies where people keep pigeons on the roof or in the back of the house. What did they do with them?
I know what they did.
What?
Well, we lived when I was going to high school. I lived with my dad and this Mr. Dirks, and he kept pigeons as a hobby. And they'd put a band around the pigeon's ankle, and they'd ship it on the train with a whole bunch of guys that get together. They belonged to a club, and they'd ship the pigeons to a certain town, and then they would be let out at a certain time, and you had to catch your pigeon off the roof and take this band off his ankle and put it in the clock that timed it. And the guy whose pigeon came in the
It was like a race. Huh?
It was a race, yeah. The one that he got money for if his pigeon made the best time.
Anyway, we never were short on chicken. Chicken was a delicacy at that time too.
Really?
Oh man, even during Roosevelt's time, chicken in every pot.
Yeah.
That was one of his slogans.
Yeah.
And my dad used to bring home a lunchbox full of grain. The grain would be spilt along the tracks, and he picked it. One lunchbox every time he came home, which was every day, 6 days a week. And he put it in a barrel, and he kept some chickens too. So we had chickens and pigeons.
Did you eat the pigeons?
The squab. That's the
Oh.
same thing.
Yeah, if they didn't do good time, or if they were stinkers and sat on the roof and wouldn't come in and let you get the little thing off their ankle,
You ate them?
they ate them.
Did your mom bake a lot?
Yeah, all the time. Yeah, she. Fact of the matter is, she used to make her own ham.
Cure it, you mean?
Sure, yeah. So I remember it was she soaked it in saltpeter, and then I don't know what else she did with it, and then she hung it up over the chimney in our summer kitchen, you know.
Oh, and smoked it.
Yeah, and kept wood in it.
What's your summer kitchen?
Well, most people had two kitchens. In the wintertime, you could keep meat without having to have a refrigerator because it'd be frozen most of the time. And in the summertime, why, it was empty. You had to scrounge for your meat.
But you could cook out there and your whole house wouldn't get hot.
Yeah.
Oh, so you used the summer kitchen to keep the meat in the
No,
wintertime?
Yeah.
Okay, and
Yeah.
you cooked in the house and used your cooking for heating too.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
in the summertime, you had was it separate from the house? Your summer
No.
kitchen?
No, it was in conjunction.
But it
And
was,
up above it, there was a sleeping porch,
so you had two kitchens inside the house.
Not inside,
one behind the other.
one behind.
Yeah, but they were both under the roof.
Oh yeah.
And they had above the extra kitchen, there was a porch where you slept. In the summertime, it was so hot at night.
Yeah.
And
See, Winnipeg gets the two extremes. It's in the temperate zone. It's extremely hot in the summer and extremely cold. It was the coldest spot on the continent, I imagine, even Alaska.
What do you remember about any Christmases or birthdays or remember any?
As a rule, we always had a Christmas tree, and I remember stringing popcorn and candies in place of lights like they do today.
Uh-huh.